Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Spotter. Today, I'm joined by a very, very special guest and a friend. First and foremost, it's Rohan, and he is a member. Well, we met at the gym, didn't we? And
We did.
I can't put down exactly when we met each other. It really bugs me with key individuals in my life because in my head, I'm like, well, we just know each other. It's just organically become something. But yeah, we met at the gym, hit it off. Thought you were a pretty cool guy, and I think you think I'm all right as well. And
yeah, absolutely. Hell yeah.
But yeah, go on.
I was going to say, actually, I think to a degree, I knew of you before we met you through the competitions we were doing at the same time in 2024.
Yes.
I swear.
That's a good point. Do you know what? It didn't even dawn on me before this that we should talk about that, but that's a very good point. We will bring up the same, because we both saw each other in the, was it in Bedford, wasn't it?
Yeah, Bedford.
Yeah,
yes.
That's it. But yeah, so with The Spotter, as we know, Rohan, obviously this is your first time on the podcast. The aim of what I'm doing with The Spotter is to extend that idea of spotting in the gym, but further, and doing so not just with barbells, dumbbells, resistance machines. It is with the weight of life, basically, and the weight of things that we carry, trauma, our struggles, and I want to basically create a podcast that draws upon so many key individuals in my life and people that I look up to, like yourself, and basically draw as much from, whether that's struggles that you've had in life, things that you think you can offer to other people through this method of the podcast talking, so that we are, we're not struggling alone, we're not suffering in silence, and we're perhaps shedding light on things that could help others in life. So that is the aim of the podcast, and I think you are, apart from Mum in the last episode, you are the first guest outside of my family circle on. So,
wow.
Yeah, this no pressure, mate. But just I'll hand it over to you if you'd like to do like a little intro, and we'll carry on from there.
Well, firstly, I wanted to start by saying thank you for having me on to us, Jake. I feel just honoured and grateful that, one, we've had this friendship. That's the most important to me. The podcast is a bonus, but the fact that we've connected over the last year and a half or so is huge, and to be welcomed onto something like this is wicked. I think I resonate massively with the podcast in so many ways, shapes, and forms, and I'll tell you guys a bit more about myself in a second. But the fact that you're doing this, I think, is huge, because I know in my own self that I've struggled with my own mental health at multiple times, and one of the biggest challenges has been able to be able to vocalize how you're feeling. And the fact that you're normalizing that men can be open, be vulnerable, and share what is actually a very normal topic. And I think that's the thing we have to do. We have to make very clear is mental health and having tough days it's just part of life. So whether you're a successful guy, whether you're a guy going to the gym, whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, the fact that you do this, mate, kudos to you, and whoever's listening. I think you're lucky to be a part of something, hopefully, which will be very special moving forward. So thank you for having me. A bit about me. So we met through bodybuilding and training, but as myself, what do? Trained as a dentist from University of Bristol. I don't know why we always define ourselves by profession. That's always something which I notice we always tend to do, but I think people tend to want to know, what does he actually do? So yeah, typically a Indian boy. What do you want to do? Become a dentist after school? That's what I didn't know. That's what I wanted to do, but that's what I was kind of guided through with parents and the school structure. It's a good career. It's something which I enjoyed, but it was never my passion. Fell in love with resistance training and bodybuilding through a very harsh reality of a breakup in the 2010s, and then it kind of guided me through university. Did the yo-yo thing like most people do, get in shape, get out of shape. And then when I left university, I kind of had a small social circle, and actually that's funnily when my peak mental health was, probably at the first time in my life, probably one of the worst, when I left university. Panic attacks, anxiety, and that's where I fell in love with lifting, because it was like something to work on, something which was physical, which I've always played rugby. I played rugby at quite a high level at university, and karate at a national level. And then with my university education, my fitness went down because my priority was just education. So I found it hard to kind of get that balance, and we'll probably chat about that today.
Yeah.
But it became very apparent to me that I needed physical activity, got into lifting, got into learning about it, did my first ever like competition, which was like a fitness modeling thing called Fit Factor. I don't know if anyone remembers Body Power back in the day, but that was when it started on a small scale. Then I started doing Pure Elite. Then I started doing UK DFBA in 2016, the bodybuilding third you're wearing right now, and just fell in love with lifting. And lo and behold, our paths have crossed all those years later, like 10 years later, or 8 to 10 years later. So yeah, it's become now actually my full-time job, where I coach working professionals on a full-time basis to help them manage their mental health, their physical health, their lifestyle. And I never thought 12 years of dentistry would have ended up me being here where I am, but that's where I am now. So an online coach. I would like to say more of a holistic online coach. I look at things, yes, body composition is what I help a lot of my clients with primarily, but within that, I think we were talking about this a second ago. It's so much more than just lifting weights.
I think it's really, even just listening to that back, because I don't think you and me have ever like spoken like in this detail about
not at depth, yeah.
And this is it. I think when when we meet each other at the gym, you train in the same environment, like, of course it'd be nice to delve into all these other things, but we're there for a reason. We're there for 1.5, 2 hours to train, focus on ourselves, and get that's our priority in that time. So as much as people say, oh, you must enjoy being at the gym, it's like, yeah, you enjoy being there, but I'm not there to have a jolly. I'm there to work on myself as well, first and foremost.
For sure.
But blessed, big up to the gym joint for all the individuals that I have met, and for yourself as well, I imagine, that you have met down the line. It's a great, I would say it's a breeding ground of great individuals.
For sure.
It really is. So I guess listening back to that, and I know some people that are probably tuning in will probably think, yeah, that's a pretty wild like transition. Like, so you said about the dentistry part. So how long did you do that for?
So qualified in 2013, started university in 2008. You finished your 5-year degree in 2013, did my vocational training 2013 to 14. So I was actually practicing for 12 years.
Yeah.
So 12 years doing what is a very, I guess, sought after vocational degree and job. And then I handed in my notice to my job for my full-time practice, and I think a couple of years ago. Now I'm now full-time, like fully full-time, as of over a year, but I've been coaching for the best part of 6 years now.
So how did you fall into that then? Because you say, you knew it wasn't your passion. So you moved into it, you studied, realized you were good at it, and it must have brought you some satisfaction as well.
Yeah.
So
dentistry brought me a lot of satisfaction, because you have like things like cosmetic cases, or taking someone out of pain, or building rapport with people who are really anxious. So there were so many things which brought positivity to me. But it was weird. Like this could go so many ways, this conversation. I've got quite a lot of perfectionism traits within myself, and I'd have this comparison of like always wanting to be the best. And that's probably why I love bodybuilding, because I love pushing myself. But it's a very competitive industry, and you felt like never enough was never enough. And in the clinical world, it's really hard when you're working with humans, because the first thing you think of when you think of a patient as a patient of a dentist is money and pain.
Yeah.
You don't think of a dentist as a nice guy. You just think of him pain and the smells, the anesthetic. You think of the drill sounds. You never think of anything like, you don't go to the doctor, you don't think of as much pain. You just think of he's a doctor. As a dentist, you think, how much is it going to cost? How much pain am I going to be in? So it was always a very pressurized environment.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you add your own internal pressure of trying to be the best. And then there's expectations of trying to be cosmetically brilliant, or, do these complicated cases. And it's not that I couldn't do them, but the pressure of that, plus maybe the environment of which I was working in wasn't maybe the suitable at the time for me, that I think, and when COVID hit, I realised in 2020, I don't know if I should have used a C word, but when COVID hit in 2020...
We're past many years of that now, it's good.
When it hit in 2020, it made me really stop and think, am I actually happy? And because we had 8 weeks as dentists, because we were the second highest risk profession because of the aerosols, we were forced to put down tools until we had the appropriate protocols from the GDC, which is the Dental Regulatory Board. It made me stop. And I actually noticed my anxiety was the worst it'd been since 2013, when I had my first panic attacks, to then. And I was like, okay, hold on a second. I'm 7 years qualified. Why do I feel this way?
Yeah.
I'm no longer a baby at this job. I'm 30 years old. I was meant to be getting married that year. And it made me think of so much at the time, like, what do I want? And at that point, in the middle of COVID, I told my dad, because my best mate and he's my, like, I guess, confidant. I was like, what do you think about me doing an online PT course? He was like, will it interfere with your work? And are you sure you want to do it? I was like, nah, it's just a side hustle. We'll see how it goes, isn't it? And he was like, cool, go for it. Just crack on. And I wanted the qualification to see if I was interested. And if I was going to give anyone advice, even though online coaching is not a regulatory space, I was like, let me just have the backing. Let me make sure I've done the appropriate protocols in place.
The
right?
in, basically.
The in, right? Yeah. Let me at least got the, and get my, my insurance, etc. Did that. Because people were asking me, I'd been competing since 2015 by that point. So I've been competing, rightly or wrongly, or successfully or not successfully. I was in decent shape. So I was like, let me just go see what the science, the PT science is. And I realized very quickly that's, excuse my language, it's a wide world of bullshit. It's rubbish. It's not, it's so generic and so pointless.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do it. And then I realized I actually do like working with people. So I start with a handful of clients. Then I kept it kind of as a side hustle for a few years after COVID, and it wasn't really doing more than some pocket change, maybe help me get a bit of protein here and there. Nothing more than that.
Hey, look, protein's expensive nowadays.
It's expensive now. Yeah. Perform, Jesus. Then it got to 2021, end of 2021. I was married at the end of 2021 finally, which our wedding got postponed. 2022. I sat down with Soph, and again, another peak hit of burnout. And she looked at me and she said, Ro, you're not happy. And it's actually my brother-in-law who was with us having lunch in the middle of town.
Yeah.
He said to me, sort it out. And when my brother-in-law says that, I think, right, am I slipping with Soph? Am I not being...
He just said it straight up like that.
We have a good relationship. He was like, you need to do something. You are not happy. Because he could see it on my face. I just wasn't present. I wasn't mentally, like... just there. I was always worried about work, thinking, is that case going all right? Am I good enough? And it drip fed into my day-to-day life.
Okay.
And it was that point when I realized I need to do something. So I got a mentor. I was like, so I'm going to try this. I'm going to go and get a business mentor within coaching who's going to coach me both on my coaching skills, but also on my business skills to make sure that let me just try this. It's now or never. We haven't got kids. We've got enough money in the bank for a couple of mortgage payments. I'm still going to keep the dentistry going. Let's just see how it goes. And sooner than later, I realized my work ethic, the right guidance, and my desire to try this out meant that it just snowballed. It became 5 clients, it then grew. And then popularity grew, word of mouth grew. I got better at understanding my voice when it came to social media and marketing. I understood what niche I wanted to work with. I realized that the best person to work with was just more of me. So doctors, dentists, lawyers, people like ourselves who work, but also have a family life. They want to be in shape.
It's people you know. Yeah.
People you know, people you can relate to. And it's just snowballed now on full time. So we got to 2022 when I had a conversation with my principal, 2023, sorry, a conversation with my principal dentist, who's like the owner of your practice. And I was like, listen, I've scaled my dentistry down as I scaled my coaching up. And it was like 2 full-time jobs at that point. I was doing 4 days of dentistry and about 3 days of coaching. And even Sophie said, please, Ro, make a decision. Like, can you scale it down or decide something? And she was right to say that, because it was meaning I was literally working 20 hours a day sometimes, like getting up at 5, going to bed at 12, 1. Like it would be silly.
Yeah.
And she said to me, like, Ro, you're going to burn out for the wrong reasons this time, or for the right reasons, but the wrong reasons. Can you look at things? And it got to the point where I was like, she was right. And I got offered an option to either stay or go at the practice. And I was like, if I've been in this dental practice, which is a business, for over 6 years, or at that point, or 5 years at the point, and you're saying that stay or go, all right, let's give it a go. Let's go all in on coaching. And here I am.
It's a big leap for anyone. Now, even for myself in a transitional phase, I find it very warming, I guess. I love these stories of individuals that scale down, figure out that this hustle, the side hustle becomes their main hustle because they realize that's where their passion lies. And I think with what you've said and what I resonate with is that, you start to have that feeling of, okay, maybe I need to do something, and it's, I guess really you're talking about your traits of like perfectionism and things like that, and how that led into your dentistry work. Do you think that also leads into now your coaching work as well?
For sure. I put it in a story last week. My goal is to be the best coach in the UK.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't have an ability for middle ground. Like for me, it's like do it to your best.
Yeah. I mean,
and it's
great.
It's a strength. It's a strength, but it's also sometimes a fuckery as well. Excuse my language. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but swear. But it's like, when is enough? When is enough? And like, is it X clients? Is it X income? Is it X house? And for me, like, it's tricky because I keep trying to. Every time I said to my mentor, I was like, when I get to this level, I'll be happy. He was like, wait, just wait till you get there. I got there. And he was like, maybe we'll try the next. Yeah. It's the same with bodybuilding, isn't it? Like, oh, I'll be happy when I'm 8 kilos lean, or 70 kilos lean, or 75, or 80, or 85, or 100 kg bench, 120 kg bench. It's the constant one-upmanship, which is great, but it's a blessing and a curse. And it's one of those things where I think we have to be able to occasionally step back, hopefully before the shit hits the fan and you feel burnout when it's work, or if it's business, it's a case of before you piss off that friendship circle or upset the missus. Because that's where I find the challenge now. Is like, it's not just me now, it's my wife. Yeah. And hopefully in the future it'll be a little one. And that's where I find the hardship is the perfectionism, the desire to grow. At what cost?
At what cost? Yeah, I think this is it. Like, and I'll get to the costs potentially that maybe you have experienced already, because that will tie in quite nicely. But again, I think for individuals that are in a similar position, trying to build something, struggling, working out whether or not to take the leap, or even figuring out what they want to do. What you spoke there of the COVID situation hit, and you had a bit of a reality check, and I think that was for a lot of people. I think it did, as you can imagine, it threw up a lot of industries. Now, with you at that point, then you said you did your online personal training course. Now you started coaching individuals in person. So did you do that via a gym? Did you get in contact with a space? Did you do it in their homes? And then did that build from there? Did you realize that, okay, I'm liking the in-person aspect of this? Like, at what point did you start to think, okay, online would be better? Yeah.
Maybe I miscommunicated. I was always online. I've never been in person. Okay, so I did the PT qualification purely for the sake of just making sure I had some backing if anyone was to bite me in the bum. But when it came to the actual coaching, I just put my first Instagram post out, fitness related, which was like hey, here's me looking sexy in my abs. But it was like, that was my first like slightly professional post. And I had a couple of people reach out, and I was like, oh, people actually are ready for this. Like, I thought they were, but they actually are. And so I had like people in my gym, well, 1 or 2 members from my gym. I had a colleague in the dental industry reach out, who actually now is funnily enough, the co-coach with me on my team, because I've mentored him into the space. 10 years later. And then ended up being family friends. And it started off small. And it would then be, he did it. Let me take his word of mouth. And then the before and after, the social proof, it all came organically. But always through the online portal was my way, because I knew I was doing dentistry and I was still doing dentistry. So to be able to scale time, I didn't have that to leverage. Yeah.
I suppose for other industries, it's quite a natural progression if you want to get into personal training first, and then you end up transferring online. So I don't think there's a right or wrong way. It depends on the type of coach you want to be, the type of individuals you want to work with,
for sure,
and time you've got as well. And let's have it right. Like, you've built, for everyone that knows you, like, you have built an extremely successful coaching business. You are, very renowned, like, you're known, and you should be very happy and be proud of what you've built. But it sounds as if you're the type of person that's like, again, what next? What else can I do to make things better? Which, again, they're great traits to have. And because you're a bodybuilder as well, that's probably why it's such a heavy trait across all aspects of your life. But like, do you know a bodybuilder that can, turn around and say, I'm happy with how I look, or I'm happy with the performance last year? It's like, no, everyone wants more.
Absolutely. I find it weird that you say that I'm a successful coach, because I can't, it's again slightly personality driven, or characteristics I've nurtured over time. I find it hard to recognize that, because I think to myself, I'm still in the infancy of this journey, and perhaps maybe I'm not enough and to be out there unless I'm not a like a coached by I'm trying to suddenly having a mind blank. This is what happens when you're like sub 10% body fat. What's his name? You know, like all the IFBB coaches, because I'm not coaching IFBBs. But then I've also had the moment to slow down and stop and think, hold on, just because someone's not an IFBB pro doesn't mean you're not a good coach.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
So I know there are definitely some pinch me moments when people wear my t-shirts, for example. I'm like, why? But that's weird, but it's amazing. I love that. It's such a privilege to have a team of clients and coaches, and like a team physio and a team mindfulness expert. We've got a team Pilates trainer. We've got quite a holistic approach to things. So I'm grateful that I have grown it and it's been done the way it has. But yeah.
It sounds extremely organic. You know, it's just a good story, which is you know, over what 4 or 5 years.
So since 2020. So 2019, but properly 2020, and then organically, in that process, in that timeline. Right.
And have you been with the same business mentor that whole time as well?
Since 2022, nice. Same guy. And
Okay.
I think it's just good because we've just built the rapport and the trust. And to be honest, even as a business mentor, because he was a previous coach himself, he went through the process with me, and I'm part of like one of his first clients. But at the same time, I've seen him go to be one of the, in my opinion, one of the best coaches, business mentors for fitness coaching in the industry. In fact, I think he's the best, but that's that's my personal subjective opinion of it. And it's been helpful because it's kept me grounded. It's helped me understand, like with anything, you're going to have a wobble in fat loss. You have a wobble in business. I've had so many wobbles where I thought, is it working? Should I try and change? It's like, stop shit in the bed. Do what you need to do the basics, do them really well, keep going. And it's the same. It is no different. It's obviously business is a little bit different to that fitness in the sense that if you have a calorie intake by science, you only need to adjust it and it will work. With business, obviously, there's elements of, fortunate being in the right place at the right time. Maybe the face, does the face fit the business? There are things which help.
Yeah. No, I get you. Different but the same. I understand.
Yeah.
I think that, with what you've built, undoubtedly there's going to be, and I want to touch on, you mentioned, anxiety, panic attacks and things like that. You had, did you say you had your first panic attack? Monster plug right there. That's great. No, that's good. It's good. Get it in. Let's get it in. Yeah. Sponsor the podcast. Yeah.
Sponsor us. Sponsor us. Passion fruit, please.
We also need to quickly point out, you mentioned about your what was it, sub 10%? Like Rohan is on a cut right now for his photo shoot. Your next week, you've got your photo shoot.
Next Friday. So yeah, if there is brain fog or the words are jumbled, just understand it's because I need carbs.
He needs carbs. They are magical. Appreciate you being on as well. I know it's been tough, but we do this because we love it.
Exactly. I didn't need to do it, but I'm doing it because I love it. So why not?
Exactly. And I wish more people took that approach as well. You have these individuals that just complain all the time when they've decided to take a fat loss journey on, or even like in a push-up phase. Like, any transformation is going to be difficult. You don't have to do it. Like, I'm not.
I said this to a prospective client today because I had a consultation. I said to her, if I took everything away from you tomorrow, money, cars, house, health, which one do you want back? She goes, probably health. I go, and I didn't want to say it to her, but I was like, if you're on your deathbed, what would you wish you could be taking back in that moment? Would you want money? No. Would you want health? Yeah. People have the choice, and I'm going to be a bit harsh here. People need to wake up when they feel frustrated, that they feel like, oh, it's hard doing things. Yes, it is hard, but you have the power of choice. If tomorrow I could go back and say I wish, I know I fucked myself over.
Yeah.
Take the I wish out and just be like, reframe it as to I'm lucky enough to be able to. I get to choose.
This is one of my biggest pet peeves are individuals that I guess there's no actual individual, but it's just that whole you see it across the industry now, people complaining all the time, or saying they wish all the time, or wanting change. Ultimately, if we have an opportunity to do something and we choose to do that, we should be so grateful that we can do that. I always say to Abby, we both practice this sort of gratitude all the time. And, granted, we all have those moments where we'll be like, oh, this is, dragging your feet, but whatever. The fact that we can choose to put ourselves through these phases is amazing.
Huge.
We can move, we can use our body in a certain way. We can go to the gym. We can drive to the gym. I can go and buy my groceries, all of this.
Exactly. Yeah. If I was a paraplegic, do you think I would not wish to be able to move? when things are taken from you, you then say, I wish. Right now we have choice. We're so lucky because we can't see what we have because we're obviously consumed by life, and that's normal. That's okay. But I think we have to have the ability to step out of that
course.
you know, that to zoom out and go, hold on a second, macroscopic view now rather than so microscopic.
Yeah, I guess then on that, I think it leads quite nicely into, you know, you all of the clients that you coach and have coached over the years. Yeah. So how do you sort of cater to differing individuals? You know, you're going to get so many different personalities that you work with, and some people are going to find things difficult when others thrive. You're going to have individuals that you can leave to crack on with what you've told them, or some individuals that ask you 10 things in a day. Like, how do you taper your demeanor, your responses, or is it a case of you don't really, and you are you give off a certain type of energy, and if people don't like working with that, it's like sorry, we're not fit.
Yeah, I think good question, and there's probably two answers to that. I would say number one, and what I've understood from myself, especially from my mentor, he was like, first exercise he did with me, he said, write down your avatar. We talked about this, which is basically describe the person, your ideal client. Everything that he does, how does he look? What clothes does he wear? Where does he eat? Where does he hang out? What music does he listen to? What's his friendship circle like? What sort of music does he like chill out with at the weekend? What films does he watch? Because the more you talk about yourself and your preferences, and you talk about that in your socials, the more you'll attract that type of person. Whereas if you try to go for like Gen Pop fat loss, you're going to attract Sally, who's been trying to lose 40 pounds with, Slimming World. And then you might have Dave, who goes to the gym 4 times a week. There's completely different personalities.
Yeah.
If I haven't, in the past, I was a lot more, you could be flexible, and I was a bit too trying to be too kind, and I killed my clients with kindness, or killed myself with social media kindness. Now I just talk exactly the way I want to.
Yeah.
Do I still act like an ignorant so-and-so? No. I've tried to make sure that I'm very, very clear about who I want to work with and the type of person. And I say, like, this is what I expect. This is how it's going to work. Through my content, I show the client meetups that we have a laugh, but we're also about working, training hard, etc. I don't want someone necessarily to be like, I don't know what I'm doing in the gym, because that's just not my niche. But what I will do is I will step into someone's shoes. So, for example, I had a consultation call today, and I'll keep it completely anonymous. But this was a mum who isn't confident with the gym, but she resonated with a lot of the message, and she's a sibling of someone who works with me. And for me, how I've understood over time to taper things is just purely through experience. I would say you learn to kind of gauge a personality type. Is that person going to be workable with you? And you do just have to try it. I think the only way to learn is to try methodology out. And I've learned through mistakes, and I think it's okay to make those mistakes. Like, okay, push when I feel like I need to be firmer. And sometimes I will push too firm, and they'll be like, bro, that doesn't work. And I'm happy to put my hands up as a coach and go, I'll ask them regularly, is there something I could do differently to help coach you better? The way I deliver it, the way I speak to you, the way in which we communicate, is there something you're not getting? I try to get them involved. If I've given my expertise and try to step into their shoes, I feel like generally you'll get a decent result. If there is friction and they feel like they can tell me, then we're going to be fine, because I can adapt. If there's friction and they back off, I think with anything, you could bring they say the camel to the water, but you can't force them to drink.
Yep.
So I think there's an element of, some people may look great on paper, but end up being shit. Some people might be shit on paper, but end up being incredible. I've had some clients who I thought will be nightmares and are absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Whereas some who I thought, oh, I really want to work with them, and then they end up being a nightmare. So
turns out,
you just never know, right? One thing I will say, just briefly, just before we go, if you want to talk about anything else, is just that I'm aware, which has helped me recently, is actually getting some clinical supervision.
Okay. So
that's basically getting a therapist to not necessarily give me therapy, but for me to have, like, if you were a clinical therapist or a psychologist, you'd have clinical therapy whereby you talk about cases in an impartial environment, which is obviously confidential, but it helps you be challenged by the therapist to challenge your thought process that you're doing the right things as far as advice, listening, and counseling is the way you should do. And I've decided to do that electively and pay for that service so that I can be challenged from a clinical therapist to make sure that the way I'm communicating, the way I'm rationalizing my sort of decision making with certain cases of clients, they can challenge me. Obviously,
Yeah.
not the science, but the behavioral management side of things, which I feel like has helped me really step into people's shoes, but also understand the psychology, because coaching is a psychology. It's not, I would say it's probably 10% training, 10% nutrition, 80% human behavior management.
Well, that's what we spoke about just before we started, didn't we? Like,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
you know, the majority of the time you are replying to messages, like dealing with
Yeah.
things that aren't necessarily nutrition based or meal plan based.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with the plan of the week. It's more, I'm struggling with this has
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
How do I deal with this if this is coming up in 4 weeks time? And
Yeah.
you're like, okay, I can imagine it's very much, you know, you're going to be coming at it from again, step into their shoes, but also
Yeah.
draw upon your own experiences, or perhaps
Yeah.
how you would rationalize something like that.
Yeah.
It's a person to person game. And I think that's what, you know, that's what draws me to it, because I do think I'm good with people.
Yeah.
I love, you know, I love talking to people. I love helping individuals. I love listening. And that's obviously, you know, they are good traits and good things to, you know, be able to master.
Yeah.
But, you know, when it comes to coaching, but, you know, I guess it's such a mixed bag. You know, all the different types of individuals you work with, you're probably like doing a lot more like counseling and working
Yeah.
with them and trying to get to the bottom of issues. Like,
Yeah. It's rarely like when somebody overeats their macros or their calories, whatever you want to call it. Is it really a problem of the food? Not really. It's their relationship to the stress or the day-to-day life. Like I had a message from a client this morning who had a bit of an anxiety attack, and there's a highly successful dentist and he's doing incredibly well at his age, but he's got so much on and he's like, how do I do this? And I was like, let's break it down. And that sometimes you have to wear so many hats. One day it'll be helping them with training form. One day it will be helping them with their anxiety. And one day it'll be lifestyle management. And I think if you're going to be a good coach, in my opinion, you have to be rounded nowadays, because that's my personal approach anyway. I might be wrong, because there might be, you know, coaches who say, you know, all you need to do is just you help them just hit their PRs in the gym. But I feel like to really get the most from a client and help them enjoy their health and wellness, especially from a well-being point of view, it's so much more than just the bar.
Yeah. I think that, you know, there may be challenges there from other coaches, because I can imagine there will be individuals that are, probably running successful businesses where they're very much a case of like, no, it's nutrition plan, training plan. It's that we speak once a week. I don't know if that still exists, but it probably does. But maybe that does work for people. I know that, you know, you can still go somewhere online and buy a training plan that you want to, you know, use and run with that. So I guess that old style, I call it old style of coaching, still exists. But I do agree. I think that you're seeing a lot more genuine person-to-person coaching now. Like, what's going on in your life? Talk to me. I'll try and help you rationalize that as much as I can. I think it, but then again, to lead on from that, like, how do you, with, you know, varying numbers of clients coming in and out and working with different types of people, how do you switch off? How do you stop, you know, put like a bit of a blockade in place so that you don't take things into your personal life? Because you're very successful, like, but you know, you don't give off, in my opinion, like, and I know you pretty well, like from what I see day to day, like you look like you manage very well, but you know, maybe behind the scenes it's different. Maybe you've had some blips before.
Oh, dude! If you're listening,
if you're listening, the can's opened up.
If you're listening to this podcast and you're not watching the video, you should be seeing my face right now, because it's a very smiling face, because the smiling face knows I'm not even trying to convince anyone here that I've got balance, and I don't think I have balance, and I think it's okay to admit it. I would say I struggle with that part big time, because look, when you're juggling X number of clients and you feel passionate about doing a service, and I need to actually probably hear this back to myself. It's okay to not be able to answer, but I find it hard not to answer a reply. For example, a DM at 9:30 at night, or a WhatsApp at 9:30 at night, 10 o'clock at night, when I should be winding down and getting into my chill time and so forth, going to bed, I feel compelled. Yeah. And it's because I don't want to be a shit coach, or I'm worried that means tomorrow I'm going to be on the back foot because I've got clients to deal with, because it's a thriving business. And how am I going to deal with that and deal with my personal time and deal with like family time? So for me, it's like, oh, I'll just deal with it now. But then that eats away at your energy. It eats away at your mental space. Yeah. Like, for example, I've had people in the gym, you know, people like yourself who know me. If I'm on the phone in the gym, it'll be a voice note or listening to a voice note from a client. Sometimes I've had to take a call. I say I had to. I've chosen to. Let me rephrase that. I've chosen to take a call from a client. And I think again, it's a skill I need to get better at. I think with it, like I think sometimes, do you know? And let's liken it back to fitness because this is something which we both can relate to.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to do the squat which you know you shouldn't have taken to then go, I should drop the weight and work
Yes.
on my form. I know right now I'm teetering on, well, not teetering, I'm pushing it too far. I need to step back and reassert some boundaries.
Yeah.
And it's tricky because even some of the mentors I work with have said the same thing. It's a space which is tricky because if we're not defining ourselves as just helping with nutrition and training, we're opening up ourselves to people, inviting them into our world.
Yes. Yeah.
How do you protect your own space?
Has it affected your relationship?
There's been arguments for sure, and Sophie's unbelievably supportive, and she said to me today before the podcast, "Ro, be honest, say everything." Yeah. And I'll say, look, we've had arguments, and she knows why I work. I work hard. I'll be very transparent. Like when I look at work ethic, I think of one human being. I've mentioned his name already, my father, and he for 20 plus years of my life would be the person who would work and he would never say a single word other than I'd say, Papa, how was your day? He'll say, fine, son. It was never a day which wasn't fine because I saw that man like grind his ass off in work. He just would do everything for us. And it was probably incredible to model for me what hard work and discipline looks like because I don't know how not to do something. But I think also it has come at a cost of me also not being able to put some good enough boundaries down because I feel like I should do what he did for me. Like he financially supported me and my brother and my mum and all of us incredibly well. He put me in a position where he helped me get my first home. I mean, that's one hell of a thing to be able to do for your kids. And I want to be able to provide the future like my parents did for me, for Soph, and hopefully our family. So I keep thinking to myself, can I push now for the future?
Yeah, I understand.
But at the same time, what if the future is, I want to make sure that the relationship between Soph and I is nurtured really, really well. So occasionally you have to flirt with the boundaries and understand, all right, to pull back, and Soph and I, we talk, I pride ourselves on communication. So we talk about things quite a lot. So I would say there has been some challenges in that element, but I think that's just, human nature. I think I'm quite impressed. I've managed to maintain my health. I think my mental health has been something which has suffered as a result. Physical health, mostly, apart from like sciatica from sitting at the desk a lot, which tight hip flexors and a physio and training has helped with. But mental health for sure, yeah. Like, what's the word here? Sometimes you have to be unbalanced to achieve balance.
I would agree with that. I think that makes complete sense. You have to go through periods of unbalance to get to a balance. Of course you do. Like that makes complete sense. But what I wanted to understand from you and get across is, and I think it's clear, like on the surface, you look very secure in what you're doing, which you are, but you give off this persona, and it's great, of successful individual, manages things very well. Like you're an individual I look up to, like very much. Like we've spoken about this. But it's also important for people to understand that successful individuals like yourself, we're built on foundations of instability, unbalance, our own issues that we've come through, and potentially trauma or stories that we may never tell anyone. Like, so I think this is it. We have to, and I'm trying to make sure that we open up the space nowadays to, especially for men as well, being transparent in all areas. And opening up more. So again, I'm hoping that this conversation helps many individuals and yourself as well. I hope that you come away from there thinking like, that was great to, get some off my chest. I think that, you make good comments about your relationship and that sort of like that fine line. Like I can draw similarities to how Abby is with me. She's extremely supportive and pushes me, and I push her as well. We have that dynamic. We talk, we push each other. I'd say we find new boundaries, to try and encourage each individual. Like she'll tell me, go do that, go do that thing, take that jump, like sign up for that, like why not, see what happens. She's not someone that's like, actually, maybe you should. So she'll tell me to go and do things. Like she is all a big encouragement. And it sounds like you've got the same thing going on as well, your side. But she's realistic. I'm a realist as well. And we can draw on situations where perhaps we need to pull back. Like, for example, in my current career, I'm getting better now, but it's fed into now my side hustle, which is online coaching. Similar to you, I feel like I have to reply to a message immediately. If I see my phone, with X amount of notifications coming in, I feel like, right, I need to clear them now. I need to deal with them now. I cannot go to bed with, the idea of switching off. I will think about something, and then I may have to, I've even woke up in the middle of the night and been like, oh, quickly, while I'm going for a wee, I'll just sort that now and then go back to bed. So, and that also stems from my career, from having Teams on my phone to be like, yeah, cool, on the weekend, just double check and see what happened later in the week. Like, it's hard to switch off. And I think when you're managing individuals that you are, you probably do feel that sense of anxiety of, well, if I don't do this, what if they decide to leave me at some point?
Correct. And I'll be honest with you, I won't glamorize it. I delivered a presentation about a year ago now to some other coaches, and they got invited to speak about my coaching and how I've managed to grow my business. And even back then, it was a smaller scale of the business. I was still feeling the same feelings, and it's a year or 2 years later that I'm here in this position where the business hasn't gone anywhere. But I still think to this day, is this pyramid just going to tumble down? The deck of cards going to fall down? Because coaching is such a unique job whereby people don't look at it so much like, for example, you have an accountant. You're normally going to stay with that accountant pretty much so, or you might change, but not that often. Whereas coaching is a luxury. What we do and what you're getting more and more into is a luxury, and all it takes is a client to say, I've got my bills are a bit tight at the moment. I might not be able to do. You know what? I might just cancel that. And it's a scary feel when you do see that client drop off, and then you're thinking to yourself, oh, maybe I should reply to all those messages to prevent that thing happening. But at the end of the day, you can't. I realize I can't live my life in that fear. And it's a process. I think it's a process, or a work in progress. Even that's probably the best way to put it.
Work in progress, but question to you: Do you think it will ever completely go? I think that anxiety will live on in some form,
for sure, absolutely. And I think that's with anything. To be honest, I think and I had that same feeling. It wasn't the exact same anxiety of the business falling apart, because I did when I was doing a dentistry, but there was that anxiety of something going on. I think what I'm trying to sit back with gratitude, like you, and journaling as of recently, is being able to realize, hold on a second, I'm doing a job I chose to do, which is such a fortunate place to be.
Of course.
And it's and I'm doing this on my terms. I'm working for myself. I'm not working for somebody else. So I'm trying to, where I can, step back and see the wood from the trees and be like, okay, look, fine. X number of clients go, all right, we might have to rethink how we approach next month, but we're still in a position I can put food on the table. We still can enjoy my life, still can have a good time. We're good. And it's just having that ability to step back. It's hard. That's a skill.
It is. But do you think that, we speak of the way you saw your father, how he, grinded, worked, didn't let off, that I know it's very typical, and I've spoken about this on the podcast before. It's very older era of don't show so much, crack on as a man. And it's a great way to be in so many ways, but equally, I think as we're seeing nowadays, it can be, because it can lead to a lot of, especially in the modern day man as well, it can lead to a lot of, I think, issues down the line. I felt that early on with just almost suppressing my emotions and letting off as to how I actually was feeling when shit was going on in my personal life, even to my closest friends at the time. And all I did was pour myself into training. And that, there was that argument going around about training shouldn't be therapy. And I'm like, I agree to an extent. Like, if you need actual therapy, get a therapist, but if you can. But there are things you can have as outlets that allow you to express yourself in certain ways. And some people may confuse that with therapy. But for me, training was my safe haven. So do you think, seeing your father get after it all of those years, it's quite clear that that's translated into how you hold yourself, how you tackle.
For sure.
Like, yeah. Do you think that? Did you ever see him take his foot off the gas? Did he ever let off as to how he was feeling? Or was there ever? Okay.
He did, but in a bad way.
Okay.
So he had depression, clinical depression. So long story short, my dad, he was working for a car leasing company for about, 15, 20 years. And at one point when I was 8, maybe 8 or 9, he got offered basically a very, very difficult scenario. It was like his 2 kids were in private school. My mum wanted us to go to private school. They had to beg, borrow, and steal for afford us to go to private school. But they were pretty much like, between those bills, they didn't have much else for what they could afford in life. So they were like, right, this is going to be the thing. We won't go on holidays. We will save all that for the kids.
Yeah.
But I remember my dad got an option to either be sacked or a promotion. Now, the promotion would be, you leave your home in the UK, you go and work for our company, now setting up the same company, the sister company in Poland, in Warsaw. We'll give you a slight promotion and you still give you some more money, but that's what we want you to do. So they had an ulterior motive. That was their main goal. Alternatively, here's your 1 year notice. And he was like, I can't afford this. So he sat down. I remember I was 8 or 9 and he was, my brother was 5 years older. He was a teen going to secondary school. And he turned around to us and said, I'll make the decision. He asked my mum first, what do you think? She said, do what you want to do what you need to. I back you 100%. And he looked at, I know he told me this. I looked at my 2 children. I'm like, I'm not going to back down. So my dad would fly out every Monday morning at 6 a.m. He would come back on a Friday at 7 p.m. I'd see him realistically for dinner. He'd go to bed knackered. And then on Sunday, he'd start packing his bag and wake up at 5 a.m. on Monday to wake up on Monday at 5 a.m. to go to his flight at Heathrow. He did that for over 15 years.
15 years?
Yeah. So he did that for 15 years. So from when I was 8 until I was 22. No, so it was 14 years. Yeah. He commuted like that from Poland. Then he did it in Hungary, in Budapest. Then he went to Turkey. And what that showed me was a man who could fucking not quit. But in that time, he did quit. Mentally, he had to tap at times. And he was depressed from being away from his family. Yeah. And one day, my mom had to drive him to the doctor to go on some meds. He had a very difficult spot. I don't know if he ever kind of worked his way through it properly. I know he kind of my dad kind of bottled it up a little bit. I definitely think it's hard. I don't want him to ever think this of him, that we blame him for it. But I know my brother had a panic attack at university and he walked out of his university at UCL in the middle of his degree. I had a panic attack at university in my first year of university, and it kind of manifested, to be honest, every year. I think seeing someone work so hard and to a pace, we kind of normalized it. And to this day, I've got better at recognizing that, but it does come at a cost. It really does. And I think it's, that generation knew how to grind, but they also didn't vocalize. And I think what I've had since then, I've had the benefit of therapy. I've had the benefit of going to multiple therapists. I've had the benefit of a supportive partner in an environment where people like you and I think, don't ever underestimate, like, Jake, those conversations you and I have in the gym sometimes are so uplifting. Like, there's been days where I've come into the gym on the verge of tears, and I have come into the gym and broken down in tears in front of Harry once, and he'll know that, and he'll be listening to this hopefully, and hopefully he'll recognize that. But like, sometimes just having somebody who you can listen to, who will listen to you and support you, is huge. And that could be wonderful. And I think you could look great on paper, but it's also okay to have moments where you feel like you're fucking up.
Then equally, I think what you've just hit the nail on the head there is the power of conversation. And
huge.
Not just, sit down, talk to me. I know you're going through a rough patch. I want you to open up to me now. It's not that. It's like even your dad, maybe in the time where he was away, just having potentially someone that could have just been there. Like, I don't know, obviously you guys were younger, and then your mum was also looking after you. So imagine in that time that he was abroad working, probably was lacking just that friendly figure. Maybe
I remember the hotel we used to go see him at once every 6 months because where he would stay, and he lived in a hotel. And the guy is nuts. I'll give you an example of how nuts he was. He would try and save every penny for us. He would go to breakfast in the morning and have a bowl of cereal and an apple and a yogurt. He'd take an extra apple for lunch. Although he was given like a £30 limit a day for lunch at the time, which was back in the day in the 90s, not all noughties, wasn't too bad. He would save that money to send it home. As a managing director of a leasing company who could easily afford a 30 quid lunch, he would say, no, I'm going to save that for my family. And he would do that. And even the hotel staff would try to sneak him food. They were like, please eat. His only interaction was the hotel staff. So no wonder he felt like he was struggling, because he had no male interaction. He had no like friendship. He had no camaraderie. He didn't see his core family. Because to be honest, my family, my dad doesn't have unlike maybe many people of his generation, he's a bit of a loner. I love him, but he's a bit of a loner. He doesn't have a bunch of mates he hangs out with a beer at the weekend. It's us. He'll be like, come out. I will go see him once a week, every week, because I know that brings him joy.
Of course.
You know, his family are, in essence, his everything. And to be honest, I pride myself on trying to emulate a family environment. So, it
sounds like your father was a fantastic man. He's a fantastic man and is the definition of a grinder. He's a definition of a hard worker, and it is fed into you. But again, this is what we say, you know, success comes at a cost. And, you know,
it does.
I do appreciate you opening up and letting us have that bit of an insight, mate. I really do. I think that, you know, any conversation you can have with individuals where, you know, like you said, those ones at the gym, the passing conversations, a little couple of jokes every now and again. I think for me, it comes so naturally to just talk to people, you know, hence I'm doing the podcast. I'm hosting the podcast, like, of course it does. But I don't think, I take great pride in people talking to me and me being able to listen and almost like, I don't know, compartmentalize things, then try and help individuals with things that they're going through perhaps, or just be that friendly individual that they have. And it does stem from other things as well. You know, I've spoken about this before about being a people pleaser and wanting
this
to.
This is huge. This is huge.
Why is it huge? Go on. What is it? Just
because when things were rough in the past for my family life, I wanted to do exactly what you said the other day in the story, which is everything. I wanted to be the comedian. I would try to be funny, and I'm quite funny. And I would try to be the person who be like, let me do something to make everyone happy.
Yes.
And when I moved out of my home, I found that hard because I felt like I was the bad person and things would deteriorate. And I felt like I couldn't give anymore. And eventually, I'm working on it now, where I feel like I'm getting good at now protecting my space.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much with work, but definitely with like saying, okay, this is the boundaries. Like, so I've got to look after me and so because I can't fix everybody's shit.
No, of course.
Because in the past, I tried, and maybe as a kid that was part of my role. I adopted that role of try to please people. But now, like you said earlier, what if somebody that you don't connect with a client? In the day, I've tried my best. If I can't, good luck to you, mate.
Cool.
Like,
good luck.
There's only so much I can do.
It's true. I think that when we start to, we get older, we mature, we look at how our childhood, leads us into our, adult life, all the traits that we've got. And I am aware of, my background, and you are of yours as well. It's made you who you are. I am who I am. I'm trying to be better with, preserving my energy really, because I'm just acknowledging, like, when you're a child and you want to make people happy, typically you do end up doing that in a way because you have an innocence to you as well. But in my adult life, you cannot please everyone. People see you and probably just dislike you for who you are and what you stand for. And it was very hard for me in the last, I'd say, year or two to acknowledge that was the case. But this year I really have taken a turn myself, and I'm just pouring into those that pour into me. And not in a selfish way. Not that I want transactions. I'm not that type of person.
No, but I think you have to be aware.
Yes. Yeah.
Self-awareness is huge, and I think that what I didn't mean to interrupt there for a second.
No.
It's just there's a quote which came to my mind, and I'm not trying to be wanky about it, but I'm going to say it anyway. The most valuable commodity you will ever be able to give but never give back is time.
Yeah.
And it's so true.
It's precious.
Money comes and goes. It does. It really does. But like the time you have for yourself or your loved ones or your business, whatever it may be, that time it's so finite, because that's the only thing guaranteed we can't have tomorrow.
It's true. It is precious. That's literally all you can say is it is precious. And, you know, you need to really sit back and think, like, who am I giving most time to in my week? Like,
correct.
Out of those individuals, who's draining me? Who am I leaving conversations with feeling like I've lost something?
Battered.
Or I think there was a terminology of, the term of like people that are radiators and people that are drains.
Yes.
And I really like that. I can't remember. I'm sorry if it was someone that spoke to me or if it was an influencer.
I think it might have been me.
Was it actually you?
Because we talked about, I did a course.
I think it was you, actually.
And it was basically energy drainers and energy builders. Like, think of yourself as a Duracell battery. There are some people who will charge you up and nourish you and give you the interactions and the good vibes. It might be on a social level. It might be on an intellectual level. It might be even on just an emotional level. They will charge you up. They will nourish your bowl. But then there are some people or situations which will deplete it. And rightly or wrongly, sometimes you can't avoid them. Like family, I love them. But sometimes it might be a bit draining. So you then just have to go, what do I do about that? Do I limit the time and the interaction? Don't cut anyone out ever, but obviously you just decide to how you have a choice. And I believe now there is a power of choice of how you do anything.
Yeah.
You can always choose how you can manage that scenario. So if there are things like you could choose to put yourself in that scenario or not.
Agreed. I think that, and again, that is just it. You know, you have so many friends when you're younger, typically. You don't understand, this terminology. You don't understand people that are draining you. You just see it as that's my friend. You know, this is my family, whatever. As you get older, you really do need to be selective with the individuals that you give time to, the people you spend time with, who you hang around with, the people you make decisions with, or allow to influence you.
For sure.
I think you really do, and I've realised that I don't need many close individuals in my life. I've got a very good circle at the gym. I've got a great family, but I have and am making decisions that people won't like. And I imagine at some point down the line, I will lose some friends. I may even piss off some family members, but it's my life. It's my mental health. It's decisions that are going to push me and Abby to where we want to be in life, to have a long, fruitful, enjoyable life, hopefully. And that's the main thing.
It sounds like a pretty solid place to be to be honest, man. Most people haven't figured that out yet, and for you to figure it out so young, I think it's pretty incredible. So you should be proud of that.
I appreciate that, mate. I am bit of a, as we're drawing nearly to a close. Now, I just want to caveat that with myself and Rohan before the podcast was saying we could just go on for ages, and I was like, yeah, I'm sure we'll draw. I was like, oh my god, we can really.
Oh, there's so much we can cover.
There's a lot to delve into, and I think even from listening to your background, your struggles, your family struggles, I really do think this is golden. I would like to get you on again if you'd be happy to come on for a second one.
I'd actually like to talk a bit more about what I think, even just my own personal struggles. I think it might be quite helpful for people to see, like, maybe more of the depth and detail of what that looked like for me, because there's so much which I haven't really covered yet. But yeah, why not?
We'll do it. We'll get a second date in. I want to talk about like the future for you, because you've competed. Your business is successful, in my eyes anyway, from an outsider's perspective. But we know that you want to push yourself always to achieve more, and that's admirable trait to have. Now, you mentioned about competing. Give us a bit of a rundown of your history again, who you competed with, and why did you turn to competing? I'm actually intrigued because I don't think I've ever asked you this. What made you think I want to get on stage?
Okay, so the first competition, as I said to you, was more of like a fitness modeling style competition. That was 2015. The reason for that was just frustration, abject frustration with yo-yoing with my training, like seeing that I was committing to it, but like not enough. Just sort of dilly-dallying with it. I was training 4 times a week, 5 times a week. So it wasn't that I wasn't going to the gym. But I think nutritionally, even my understanding at that point, which I was 23, 24, it was very basic. I remember my first diet was based off a bodybuilding.com forum.
We've all been there, man.
Yeah, it was literally set up. I can't even remember who did it, but it was one of those sort of like, try this cut. And to be fair, because it was when you're consistently inconsistent, You know what I mean? When you're consistent at doing something which is not the right thing for you, you still can make progress because you're just consistent with it.
Yep.
And it was the initial bit of just like, my brother looked at me on January the 1st. He said, you're hungover and you're miserable. What's wrong? I was like, I just don't like the way I look today. I feel a bit hungover. I feel a bit fat, and I just want to do something about it. And he was like, well, you obviously train. Why don't you not just set yourself a competition? And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then he looked at Fit Factor, which was on this body powder website. And he was like, listen, worst case scenario, it's a 50 quid entry to this competition. See if you get in. You had to go through like entry rounds first and do some like, I don't know how to explain it, but it was like some pre-assessment. And I got in, and then he was like, if you don't like it, just quit before the show happens. Lo and behold, got through the 2 preliminary rounds, went to the live competition. At the body powder in 2015 was huge. It was the best, the most exciting thing. Ryan Terry was still at USN, and it was all like one of those big things whereby there was so many stands, such a buzz in it. Fitness was on the grow. Gymshark had just got big, and I loved it. I just liked it. Did the competition, got the buzz, got my first coach after that, who was one of my mates at the time, who competed with me. He coached me through to a photo shoot. I looked insane, and I was still slim, skinny, but still like with the most muscle I've ever had.
Yeah.
Then I was like, right, Pure Elite, let's try that, which was a fitness modeling style competition. Then I was like, no, I want something more formal. Got my first coach, which was Max O'Connor. He used to be and Mr. Nabla Universe.
Okay.
And he coached me to UKDFBA because he actually was friends with all the lads up like Lee Kemp, etc. Because he was from that area, and obviously UKDFBA is huge in the Leamington, Coventry area. So he was like, look, there's a show there. Do men's physique. You've got a tiny waist. You've got decent delts and decent pecs. Why don't we just stick you in that? Got through to the regionals. So I placed in like 3rd in the regionals. Then I got to the nationals, and I think I got at the British. I think I got like 2nd that year.
Nice. Yeah. What year was that?
2016.
Nice.
Then 2017, I slipped 3 discs. I was prepping for my first regional for 2017, and I slipped C5, 6, 7.
Wow.
Paralysis of like my left-hand side of my body, my pec atrophied, but I still tried to prep through it. Quit. I got to like 4th in the regionals up in Coventry and Leamington Spa. Took about a year and a half to recover. 2019 did UK DFBA again. Got this time 3rd at the British.
Awesome.
And then 2020 COVID. 2021 got married. Wanted to do another competition, so I was like, right. Had about 12 weddings to go to in 2022. I was like, probably not that year.
Yeah.
Business was growing. Did a few photo shoots 2023, 2022. And then 2024, I was like, right, let's give it one more go. I'm married by this point. You and I did the same comp. We did UKDFBA. And I've loved it. The reason why I've done it is I've loved having something to work towards. I like a deadline. I like urgency. I like knowing. And I thought I did. At the time, it served a really good purpose. I like being told, you're top 2, 3. It was nice to be able to say I'm top in Britain. 2024, I remember standing on my first comp stage, which it wasn't UKDFBA, it was WNBF.
Yes.
And there's some jack lads next to me, absolute monsters at the age of 23, 24. And I'm like, well, I still look good. I can still hang with them. But I remember the music being there, and I remember hitting my court, just like holding in the back frame, waiting for my line out, because it was like 3 segments, like the right side of the court stage, middle, and then the left side of the stage to come out. And I remember standing there, and I remember asking myself, why am I here? And that worried me. I realized at that point, I don't think competing serves me what it used to do.
It wasn't the purpose anymore. Yeah, it wasn't serving. Yeah.
And what I've realized since is that competitions, I like them. I still watch them. I still watch all of the like Arnold's and the Olympia, and I still put my predictions down, and I'll check the UKFBA and WNBF to see what people are doing and looking like. But the external validation of someone telling me I'm in shape anymore doesn't excite me. The drive to keep on pushing and training and building muscle and changing the way I look, I still love that, and I'm still training as if I'm on I'm prepped right now in better condition than 2024. Yeah. So I could jump on the stage, and I reckon I could hang. I could probably do all right. I reckon I could maybe win. But for me, it's now leading by example with my clients. For me now, it's great for my business, but it's also show up, do uncomfortable shit, and keep going, because it's good for my mental, it's good for my physical, and I like leading by example, whether it be family or my business. I think it's wicked.
It is. Look, competing, you hit the nail on the head there. It at some point for individuals serves a purpose. Like,
Yeah.
for me, I had it in my mind that I wanted to jump on stage. It was in my family. Like, I knew that my uncle did it. You know, he qualified in his IFBB at the age of 51,
Wow.
52,
Wow.
I think,
Wow.
which was nuts. And I wanted to jump on stage throughout the COVID era, and then I put it off because of that period and thought I'll just take longer. Dad passed away end of 2021, and I was like, okay, he never got to saw me. Like, he's just missed out on that, and that drove me in 2022 to get on stage. And then I always draw this as almost like the it's meant to happen. Like, I won my first show, and in my head I thought to myself, okay, cool, that's like that's a signal to me, like, that this is something I should be doing. But the drive to get on stage was always there for me when I started training. But initially, this all started off as a way of coping and pouring my emotions into. But I think, put everything else aside, the process of competing, getting there, is far better than stepping on stage. And I said this to Abby, she competed for the first time last year. You cannot explain it until you've done a prep. Like, for everyone listening in, when you do, and every prep's different, when you do a prep, you change as an individual. Your habits just tighten. Everything becomes meaningful. Your steps, the food, your interactions with people, the coffee that you just take for granted in the morning. You gain an appreciation for food, like I think we should all have. We should have an appreciation for our food. You gain an appreciation for social events, not needing external validation in other forms. You're not needing to drink or eat crappy food to socialize. Everything becomes simple, but your day becomes a bit more structured and complicated. You crap. But I don't know about you. Like, I just found like I could do. My day was like that prior. I ended up doing that much in prep, and I was all cogs turning. It makes you such a productive individual. Like,
it does.
And then if you take that into your growth phases, you're usually set up for success. But I know what you mean. When if you're up there and you think, right, this isn't for me, then I would say competing isn't necessarily the right thing to be doing.
Yeah, I think, like, for example, we've had this conversation about it this year and whether I do it or not. And like, there are other things where Soph and I have goals of trying to build a family, and that for me is number one priority right now, or even above the business, like way above the business. And as far as that's concerned, I could jump in a show, but there's no, like, I want it to be screaming outside my body till I want to go do a show. And I think you have to, because you have to be obsessed to be able to do a show and enjoy this process. Whereas if I did it right now, I would be doing it for the sake of it, because I could do it, not because I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And I can't go into a competition like that, because then I start to hate the sport, which I love, if that makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you're going into something like that, people will talk about that whole mentality side of things, winning mentality. I do think if you're entering something, it's you want to be able to say, like, I'm going in to, you can say I'm going in to do my best, which is great.
No, you're going in to win, mate.
Of course you are. Like, you've got to have some element of, I'll be happy with 10th place.
No one is.
Everyone wants to win. Like,
if you were happy with 10th place, you wouldn't be there competing in the first place. I think it's probably a bit triggering for me to say it, and we should all go there for the enjoyment of the competition of it all. But let's be honest, you're entering into competitions because you want to see where you fare with somebody else. You want to see that there is that element of that sort of like caveman instinct of
course,
win. Like,
I want to be the best. Yeah.
And that's okay. That's okay. And I think
getting to the demonize that.
No, if it serves you, do it. And it has and did. And if I hadn't done that, who knows? Like, maybe my business wouldn't be where it is now, because it allowed me to take those necessary steps to be like, what's next? Grow, build. Oh, that helped me get that physique. Therefore, that person respected me. Therefore, that person thought, oh, he's done it. How can I do that? Not the competition side, but how do I change my life and still be a lawyer or a dentist or an accountant and be in shape? Because I did that. I didn't stop my life.
No. And it's only added to your life. And you are where you are today, hopefully, because of that and many other things. So that has contributed. So, competing is a special thing. I'm glad that you've, I didn't know all of those shows that you'd been a part of, mate. So I'm glad that you've delved into that. I think to finish off, I always like to, and again, we will delve into more in part 2. I think that we've covered a lot. I try and finish these off organically, but I want people to finish off by saying, what would you say to somebody listening
Yeah.
that perhaps is struggling in similar areas as yourself? Maybe, they're going through a side hustle build. Maybe they've got their own business. They're wondering how they switch off. How do they stop things from, affecting their personal life? Or maybe it's something completely different. Maybe, you just feel like you can say something that will benefit someone that is perhaps struggling in silence. They're listening to the podcast. Like, what would you say, Rohan, to spread that spotter message across to somebody else in the hopes that they also can do that for someone else one day?
Oh man,
I know it could be many things, but
I think the thing which comes to light, and it was something I said to someone today who was having a difficult day, was one, admitting that it's a shit day and that you're struggling is the first win. That's for me number one. But two, the best answer comes from within. So what I mean by that is, if you're struggling right now, firstly, well done for thinking about that, but flip it. If I'm listening to you and you're telling me, if I'm listening to you, I'm the one who's struggling, you tell me what the first action is, because you don't need somebody else to tell you what to do. You know what you need to do. You just need to be able to be that voice to step out for your shoes. So, for example, the person today who was having a bit of an anxiety attack, super overwhelmed, I was like, right, I'm no longer the coach. You're the coach. I'm you. What's my first step? Because you don't need to think about trying to do everything right this moment, whether it be the business is not growing, whether you're struggling with the relationship, whether your mental health is not feeling great. You're not going to, if you try and tackle that hill, it's incredibly hard. But if you can think about the one step, that's all you need, because that one step is enough momentum. You do that, do it for the next week. It doesn't have to be even doing another step another day. Just do that same step and just keep doing that every day.
Yep.
Then tackle the next thing. Because for me, momentum builds everything.
To take that and don't look back. Just take that first step.
And when you do go back, just go again.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Because pleasure, man.
No. I didn't mean to interrupt if you're carrying on.
No. I was just saying we're all human.
Yeah.
As I said, hopefully today people recognize that. Like, I'm happy to admit I've got shortcomings. I fuck up a lot of the time. I have the days where I will cry and feel like I'm struggling. It's okay to fuck up and it's okay to feel like you're struggling. Just when it happens, just get up, go again. Batman, as the old Gotham City Batman City Alfred said, "Why do we fall? So we learn how to get back up."
Brilliant saying, honestly. That's one of the best lines of the films. It really is.
I love it.
What a way to finish. Rohan, thank you very much for being on technically the first guest podcast of 2026, and it won't be the last. I really do appreciate you. Thanks for being in my life, and keep doing what you're doing, mate.
Thank you, bro. I love you lots and appreciate you for having me on.
Thank you, broski. Take care, man.